Hello, 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 hello. Let's test the microphone. Test, test, test. All right. Timer on. Camera off. Oh, I have to hide the name. Hold on. Okay. No, what am I doing? Okay. JMA. Okay. So, um, actually, let me do one thing. No. All right. Let's pull. Just remind myself of the misses chart. Ugh. Okay. It has returned. Okay. All right, let's get into a trance-like state. Okay, well, so here we're dealing with a double Scorpio, rising in Sun with Moon in Virgo. So, I purposely wanted to have a little bit of time between your two readings, for the sake of objectivity. Um, I did just take a peek just to remember your chart a little bit, but I don't know. I didn't want to have it like so fresh in my head, but I wanted to have a little reminder kind of in the middle. So, you know, it's interesting. It's interesting that, well, I don't even know who's watching this. Um, A and J. But for A, there's the Virgo energy, and for J, there's the Scorpio energy. So, a chart like this, with the North Node in 29-degree Pisces, right on my sun. Well, my sun's 28 Pisces, but in the last degree of the zodiac, right? You have someone who's really, really here to evolve. Wait, hold up a moment. Because you guys both have North Node in Pisces, which is crazy. Wow. Okay. So, yeah. For Jay, um, you guys are on a similar path, right? You guys are both headed towards the North Node in Pisces is someone who is really, really here to take that, it's Pisces is really all about the deepest form of divine compassion and strengthening the energetic body, strengthening just the relationship with God. It's kind of like the highest vibe of North Node and Pisces is like enlightenment. So in order to remove yourself or like from the lower potential of the South Node in Virgo, one must understand, as I always say, the self-limiting beliefs that one has and the different tricks that one's mind plays on one. So let's see. So um, hmm. So a big thing for him is that in past lives he was very, very his you have to have kind of a similar karma from what I remember, like in the sense that he with the Uranus square to the South Node, that's about skipped individualization in past lives. So because it's in Virgo, the South Node, the karma, you can imagine the karma for Jay, for you. I'm gonna act like I mean, I imagine Jay will watch this. I'm not gonna say any first names, but you can imagine this kind of Virgo South Node, the South Node, and that's where your moon is, right? It's very, very difficult when your moon's in the same sign of your South Node to get out of that, to escape that, right? To escape that, and you really, really have to understand because your moon is your emotions and your instincts. So whatever sign it's in represents, what you need to feel comfortable, your emotional nature, your more unconscious feminine side. So it's harder to see than your sun or your ascendant, right? So because it rules your instincts, and Virgo is it is an energy that is very, very cognitive. It's ruled by Mercury. Um, it tends to prefer logic over emotions, and sometimes that can be difficult for mental health because there can be anxiety that's associated with the overthinking that can come from Virgo moon. And a lot of times they have to get past the issue of putting other people, like being like overly self-critical, and then allowing that to project onto other people, right? Like if someone's really, really critical of themselves, notices all the little small things they do that might not be perfect, then the probability that they are going to have that same energy towards people around them is quite high. So when the South Node is there, it's speaking to the fact that there's been this tendency to be too much in the material world, right? Because it's square Uranus, um, and square Chiron, and hold on, wait, yeah, and square Saturn. It just doesn't show me on that. So when it squares Saturn, oh man. So basically, um, from a karmic perspective, the square of Saturn, Saturn, it's a lot of conditioning, and it's a lot of like kind of unresolved material around how that person was conditioned in past lives, the type of conditioning that person was exposed to, either through family, society, religion, anything, right? Anything in it could be any historic time, where with Virgo, which South Node Virgo, the equivalent of this would be someone in today's world who, just works himself to death, basically, and has no concern with, with any higher truth because of the conditioning, because of believing in conditioning, right? So that is what this chart is trying to get away from in this lifetime. And it's very easy to repeat past life mistakes. So, the more like the spiritual relationship one has with oneself with a chart like this is of the utmost importance. And the doorway to get there is through creativity, through being able to open up to the inner child. So there's a real need to mature in this lifetime, right? To really take responsibility of one's life at a real core internal level. And sometimes there can be like, there can be sometimes a tendency to blame, to have excessive fear, things like that, right? To want to control things too much. But also with Saturn, there can also be, like issues around guilt, right? Like the sense of like having done something wrong. And with Saturn in the second, it can be related to self-esteem. So it really does come from like this feeling a lot of people have with that they kind of they feel some sort of guilt in their soul, and like they really have to learn to like, especially the Virgo moon, they really have to learn to you know to not blame themselves, and to really really be kind to themselves, right? Self-compassion, self-acceptance. um Aside from that, the Saturn return, which obviously you had, um around 29-30, it's so massive, so massive for someone with this in their chart. So much karma is overcome. Hold on. Okay. Esme. Oh, okay. Here. Let's get Esme. She's here. I called her and she came. Okay, Esme, do your thing. You're gonna help me. You're purring. That's good. Okay, look at it. The part of the chart that I need. Look at the most. No, no, look. Look, Esme. Look, Esme. Okay, thank you. Midheaven, Black Moon Lilith. Ooh, interesting. Interesting. Are you saying she's a witch? Are you saying she has witch vibes? Or are you saying that she has to watch out for being, or he, excuse me, has to watch out for being too obsessed with career? Yeah, that's such a good point. Thank you, Esme. Yeah, so okay, this actually ties together very well with what I'm saying. Because in essence, I'm gonna go back. I prefer being off camera. Okay, I'm an idiot. I literally accidentally hit recording stop, so I'm gonna have to edit and pick these two readings or crop these two together. Fun times, whatever. Anyways, I was just saying that I feel like I prefer being off camera right now. I just want to sit and meditate. Yeah, so that's a big theme. And there's also like past life pain, right? There's past life pain, and um there's self-esteem issues as well. There's a real need, um because of trauma from past life, to um to really really look at the situations that come up in this lifetime and to have acceptance around them. And a lot of it also could come from like a real need. Just such, having Uranus and Saturn sort of nodes, there's such a massive need for liberation from past conditioning. I mean, like, think about just the idea of a South Node in Virgo. Like I keep saying, it's like someone, Virgo is the material world. So low energy, like a Virgo who's not doing things right, might be the kind of person who, um, is just like obsessed. Like in today's world, like I was saying, like obsessed with their job. Um, and this isn't a diss. I'm not saying this is you. I'm saying this is like when you get lied to in this type of way, it's like people who are just kind of doing what they're told, right? Um, Maybe it could even been something that was forced. So yeah. So um, with Uranus like this, it can also be a trauma signature, right? And I think ultimately it revolves around the loss of actual meaning. And because all these planets are in Sag, so it's like, yeah, it's really like the lack of truth, nihilism. And in this life, you're presented opportunities for higher spiritual awareness, right? But you know, sometimes people who have these types of placements in their charts, there can be a lot of fear associated with um thinking outside the box, or allowing one to truly not to truly like believe in something like astrology, you know. But if that is the case, it has to just be known that that comes from a very legitimate place. um so yeah, like the crisis in individuation, right? It's been a process from different lifetimes, right, that just hasn't been fully done, but it's a process that started. And a lot of times it's like, being blind to how conditioning has imprisoned them in past lives. So, yeah, it's really like there can be like some kind of karmic PTSD that blocks the self from their true higher self. Um, so yeah, any kind of like past life regression work could be really powerful. You could find someone good. And then the Uranus opposition is very, very important, which is around, beginning of the 40s. I think 41, 42, if I remember correctly. It's 82-year orbit, isn't it? Yeah, 41, 42. So that's just a lot of the karmic stuff. So obviously we see, this person, this soul is, and you guys are very, like, I'm not gonna get into this stuff for the synastry reading, but like the compatibility reading, but like having the same North Node as your partner is a big deal, because you guys will feel like you're going, like, you know, like your guys' highest destiny and highest calling on an individual level is also the same on a level as a couple. And what's cool about that is that means that the North Node in your guys' composite chart will be Pisces. So that makes the relationship feel very, very, very authentic to both of you. So, um, I think that a lot of this stuff also can have an effect of allowing, like, I think he has a big time healer potential, but his own healing is around the mind and also around the allowing of the self to go deep. As a Virgo moon, like I said, there can be an allergy to emotion sometimes. Not always, like, trust me. I know some Virgo moons who, my best friend's a Virgo moon. He feels his emotions. He's, you know, it's not, nothing in astrology is black or white, right? But yeah, it's just hmm. Yeah, it's just like even something like sexuality can feel, and just like, yeah, really, really being vulnerable can feel really, really tough. And expressing one's truth, and everything like that can be, you know, it can feel there if there was rejection early on, you know, or like kind of like um a need to be perfect by a certain parent or something like that, you know, there's all kinds of stuff that can exist that could have dire consequences. So, you know, any kind of like vertex 8th house, like so much healing is done in intense relationships. Um, Even if there's drama, ultimately that's like a something that's good and positive. And the more that you're able to communicate about the depths of your own like personal emotions, you know, of um your own internal underground, the better. The better, the better. So yeah, it's really important to be able to do that. But definitely with a chart like this, there is that potential for really, really having difficulty with opening up and all that. So let's see here. Hmm. So, um, Scorpio sun with Mercury rising, and Pluto is there too in the first with sun. So your sun is actually on, how close is the serpent is? It's actually at a really difficult degree. Wait, what? Serpentis in Quar. So, you know, there could have been like a good amount of potential trauma. Nessus on the moon too. So there are definitely trauma markers from this life and from past lives also. A lot of times they mimic each other. Yeah, there's a lot. Let's see. So, you know, so having all that Scorpio energy, right? think about what I just said before this, right? I was talking about how there can be difficulty getting to those depths, and that's karmic, right? Um, so in this life, the personal planets, which really your conscious part of your personality, I'm always trying to show how the outer planets relate to the personal planets. So ha ha ha. Think of the personal planets like they have functions for you in this life. The outer planets tell us about karma. And it's not that they don't have like conscious functions. Um, so this is my brand as an astrologer. I created this idea of well, I mean, like I never learned it from anyone, so maybe someone else does it. I don't know. I doubt it. I mean, maybe, who knows? I don't know. But I don't do every chart like this, but I do like to see, especially with a Pisces North Node, right? I do like to see, how, like, sometimes I do like to start with the outer stuff, right? Um, like the big karmic themes, and then kind of work my way inward. So if someone had conditioning, past life conditioning, they had a tendency, and I don't know how many lifetimes, if it's one lifetime or several, but of kind of being too like in the matrix, I guess would be like the word. I don't know. Just conditioning. And because of that, like, you know, if you don't have any, if you don't have like, faith in something bigger, um, what are you gonna do, right? Like, are you really gonna have like higher meaning in your life? It can be very difficult, right? And then like there can be excessive worrying too that comes from the Virgo South Node. So the reason why it's difficult to have the moon in Virgo is because sometimes the moon in Virgo relies too much on logic, right? And with things like spirituality, it's not logic that gets you to where you need to get. It's being able to intuit what might be possible and feel it in your soul. Every good, every the best inventions ever from inventors, are like, people who really move the world forward, like they had to imagine how something could be before making a reality. So that's the case, right? Have to imagine it. So, so yeah, like if I always talk about the idea of being stuck in your south node. And you're stuck in your south node if you are, living too materialistically, and if if spirituality isn't playing a large enough role in your life, really. If you're going through, if you're overly worrying, right? If you're worrying too much, that's another big clue. Um, yeah. And Pisces asks us, to just be able to just go with the flow in life, but also use that Virgo South Node and Virgo Moon to be able to organize yourself with a step-by-step basis. And, you guys, having that Virgo in common means that that's an energy that prevails, but I still haven't like looked. I didn't want to I still haven't looked at the nature of the compatibility. Like the nature of your guys' relationship. Um, but I know you guys have the same last name. But yeah, regardless, it's a very similar karmic path, but also different. But as I'm saying this, Scorpio. So as I was asking the question earlier, so with all of this karmic stuff that I just laid out, I've laid out the puzzle pieces, right? Um, what when crafting your birth chart, you and your spirit guides before you enter this incarnation, you know, the sign Scorpio is a sign of internal truth, no repressing with Scorpio, right? Scorpio goes deep. It's a sign of the depths. It's a sign of the underworld. It's a sign of the occult, the esoteric. It's a sign of deeper and powerful knowledge, like astrology and deep psychology, right? Numerology, you name it. Scorpio is about the underground. It wants to know the truth, even if and that's why Scorpio is associated with darkness, because the truth is dark. Oh, that's good. I need to post that. I need to write that down. No, I had to write that down. So, you know, Scorpio it's a real sign. It's not just going to sit around and lie um about, it's not going to sit around and lie, about the world being this butterfly perfect place. It really, it really represents, like I was saying, the underworld, right? The underworld and all and seeks and it seeks to find out all that is true. So oftentimes that is not pretty. But like the thing is, like Scorpio, it's incapable, is incapable of lying. And I guess people, and it's a lot for, many more delusional people to handle. That's the truth. So, yeah. Um, so it just makes perfect sense to me. You're a Scorpio rising, and Scorpio, Scorpio. So let's talk about the rising. I mean, honestly, you have a stellium and Scorpio in the first house. So your identity is very Scorpionic. It's based on the truth. Um, it's based on shadow work, right? Because to get to Pisces from Virgo, you have to, you have to really be able to go deep within yourself, so there will be times that, with someone with a chart like this, especially with the difficult 22 degrees, the first 30 years I imagine quite difficult, right? Even though there's not that many hard aspects in your chart, barely any actually, but still, um, I imagine that there's some difficulty there. You have Moon square Saturn. Um, that can make, another one that can make emotional vulnerability difficult. And it can kind of like lead to some. It's not like super super close. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just creating an energy that can be associated with depression, with issues around melancholy. So one thing I would tell you to do is breath work. Actually, you do have air. You have Mars. Never mind. I mean, it would still be really good, but I thought you had no air personal plans. You have Mars and Libra. Okay. So yeah, the Scorpio energy, it's just like, it's like there's no chance for you to not, there's no chance for you to it's the energy that's pushing you away from that Virgo, you know? But what's really important when you have that much Scorpio is to not be overly serious, because Scorpio and Virgo combo can sometimes be, it can be difficult to have a sense of humor. Like, Virgo, it's such an enigma, that sign. Um, it's a very, very much an enigma, right? Very, very much. But definitely the Scorpio can be, very intense, and it's just important to have a sense of humor about life, right? It's not like it's, not take it too seriously. Like, yeah, growth is important and everything, but um, it's just important. And it's really this big battle of ego versus soul with the first house Pluto. Um, what the ego wants and what the soul needs are like usually a contrast here. And with Neptune, Mercury rising, you'll be someone who's very intelligent and who's very well spoken, and who, with it being in Scorpio, communications, you could have like a career or something that has to do with communicating, and like that could be like a big part, whether it's, writing, communicating, just, that could play a large role in your life in general. I mean, I know that you have, it's on the midheaven, but, on the ascendant, it's just going to make you someone. um it gives you a very strong Mercury. So Mercury in Scorpio is all about deep probing mind. It could be obsessive with things that it gets interested in. So I think with the fact that you have that you're at the your sun has the 22 degrees, which is next to two difficult. It's next to two difficult what do you call it? Yeah, one difficult asteroid and one difficult fixed star. So I think that I think that there's a big theme in your life has most likely have to be surrender. Um, because what can happen, Scorpio is about death, rebirth, transformation, the concept of being able to really truly let go. Because low vibe Scorpio can be power hungry. Um, it can, try so hard to hang on, especially if it has abandonment issues, right? It can try so hard to hang on to people, um, cling on to them and not let them go. Um, and Virgo moon sometimes can have, like I said, they can sometimes be like, if they haven't like really done that work, um, to really get past any kind of over like any of that perfectionism or just ability to be overly self-critical, then the Virgo, then like it's like self-love is extremely important, and the way that's found north node in the fifth house, Leo, right? It's through the process. It's through the process of really going deep within and finding the inner child, reclaiming the inner child. And another part is finding the voice, as I was saying earlier, with the Chiron, where it is. And in Gemini, like oftentimes people with that, I get a lot of clients with that. It's because they had kind of different ideas, ideas that were very, very opposed to the mainstream when they were younger. Um, and but you're probably just very, very deep, very, very young, and a lot of times they start to doubt their own intelligence or think that there's something flawed with their thinking process. Um, and with Mercury rising, it's just interesting because Scorpio rising, it's very, it has a very large aura. People notice Scorpio risings, like they have usually quite like darting eyes. Um, and yeah, I think that I think that Scorpio risings like are very good observers, and they kind of just chill, allow things to happen, and people, even if they don't say anything, people feel that presence, and they're typically old souls, the Scorpio risings, typically old souls. And it makes Pluto really a chart. Pluto's in that first house. So chart rule in the first house, it just makes a big personality, right? And it might kind of be this back and forth of like wanting attention and all that, and then just really wanting lots of privacy, but usually more privacy. I would say definitely leaning more on the private side. Um, but the first house sun, it's like really like it just speaks again to the need to find your individuality. That's what this chart's all about finding your individuality through and connect and really truly connecting to truth and God, which is really like probably like you know I mean, yeah, like that's where the soul is at right now. That's where the soul is at. That's what's trying to be accomplished right now. So hmm. So yeah, your quar on your sun, it's speaking to how mystical experiences will help you access a deep, this deeper reality, this perfect flow state, right? Um, and it blesses one with a lot of intuition and natural talent with anything mystical, but it comes from like your instinct, like having that divine voice within yourself. So it's just important to kind of like to trust that, learn to hear and learn to trust that voice, because a lot of people ignore it, and have difficulties knowing the difference between um intuition and imagination. Also, though, it can be linked to painful experiences too, fears, and sometimes Virgo moons can have fears and different interjects and self-limiting beliefs that really hold them back. Like think about Pisces as oneness, right? Think about like a long brain wave. Like when you're just feeling good, like after a hike or meditation, like whatever it is. It feels like your brain waves are just flowing, or if you're like, I don't know, like just in a good flow. Like it feels like the brain waves are like longer, and you're so relaxed. That's Pisces. Virgo is when they're like boom, 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 like super sharp, and like maybe the body's anxious, or like something's anxious, and it causes one to overthink and time just doesn't flow. So it's like you're really trying to get in that flow state. But yeah, I mean, your chart, this chart's really, yeah, like I said, so it's really asking you to really follow your guts, um, trust that intuition, and there'll be gifts there as well. There'll be gifts there. Death is something for Scorpio that has to be looked at closely, though. Scorpio rules death. Not not saying anything about like someone's gonna have an early death, or it's not saying that at all. It just Scorpio people like can be this fascination for studies of life after death, or just the idea in general. Looking for someone. So yeah, also like Nessus on your moon could talk about betrayal, deception, um, kind of like shadowy Virgo energy. Maybe from the mother potentially, but I don't see any bad aspects to the moon. That it squares Venus, but it's not like horrible. Um, but also Nessus, often refers to abuse. So like I'm seeing that in various places in this chart. It could be emotional abuse if it's the moon. So, but a lot of times it is abusive problems with, the mother, wife, which I doubt, or just, some important woman in the life, right? Um, but a lot of people with that, they do get abused in some way in their romantic relationships. Mm-mm. Mm. Okay. So, yeah, overcoming like the low energy Virgo and the low energy of Scorpio is paramount. So, of obviously Scorpio of every sign, it has the biggest, from low to high, it's so big, right? So it all has to do with surrender, and because it is, your sun trines your north node, that could be that you're, potentially the father has like a, significant role on the life. But it could also just, be that your core life essence, the Scorpio energy that you have is very, very much in line with your North Node and your higher, your kind of destiny energy, right? And then your moon, your Virgo, is in a square sign of it. But the point is that the low energy of Scorpio, it can be quite intolerant and just, manipulative, power struggles, all that stuff. So very good to not be that. But, you know, um, it's all about transformation. So that's why if there were difficult times in your life, that, everything was this was the evolutionary impetus was very, very obvious. So sometimes, advanced souls or people who really have big destinies or big goals, karmic goals in this lifetime, they'll have charts to kind of indicate difficult things happening early on that force that transformation. So with all that Scorpio, it can be very difficult because you're not going to be someone who's surface level at all, right? You like to have deep conversations. And when you do have a lot of Scorpio, Pluto, or eighth house in your chart, it can create difficulty. Like if you're living where you're born, right? A lot of people with a lot of Scorpio, they will have moved on or moved into like newer versions of themselves that are almost like unrecognizable to older versions. And people they grew up with, environments, hobbies, whatever it is, right? They can really outgrow them very easily. And it can be a little bit awkward because people from your old life might want to pull you back to that old version of you, And so it's really important to rise above that. Not let that happen. Very important. Um, mm, 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 mm. So yeah, basically, with love, Venus and Sag in the second, so that's definitely money also, love and money, like, with Uranus in the second, um, it can at the same time make someone very, very, like very innovative and have like these like very like just out of the ordinary genius ideas. Um, that can also it can also make money very, very up and down. But when one and then the second house, Saturn, there can be lots of fears associated with money, right? It can be like I've seen people with this, right, who come up, who they tend to like it can create workaholics. And they can come from very, very poor families. Um, not all the time, but a lot of times what I see is that they typically second house Saturn, like there is some kind of like the first 30 years, maybe like finances are difficult. But what can happen is that they can stay kind of locked in this fear, and then when they start to make a lot of money, right? Because it usually makes someone quite conservative, even though Uranus and Venus kind of pushes away of that. Like it can definitely make someone not afraid to spend, but Saturn in the second house by itself does. Um, but sometimes what can happen is that they can just, that fear is there and they have all this money and then like even buying like a bed or like, a car after like, when they're worth millions or something, like, they're like afraid that they're still afraid that unconsciously that they're, it can represent like emotional poverty. And it's like almost like I've seen it a lot. Like it's like almost like no matter how much money they make, they still feel like, they could lose it all. So the fact that Venus is in there though is actually very, very good sign for finances though. So you have to look at all the planets in the house, and it's in Sag, right? That's about expansion. Um, Also, yeah, Venus and Pallas in the second. Also, you can be very creative, and yeah. So there's lots of energy of like being very creative, like kind of entrepreneurial. But even like this theme of like overworking, right? It's all over the chart. South Node, right? South Node in over here in Virgo, right? I said that like there can be that tendency to like overwork and to be, you know, to not put enough into the spiritual basket. Now you combine that with Black Moon Lilith on the midheaven in Leo, that can give someone potentially like an obsession, potentially as an obsession for power and success, where they'll put too much energy overworking. Sometimes people with that, it's like they're willing to their dark side they have to overcome is like being willing to like step on, like be almost ruthless in career. I'm not saying that's how you are at all. I'm just saying that that's a potential, like too much of a need for attention or for being seen, success as success, whatever, right? So, and Scorpio also can be very power seeking. So an unhealed Scorpio can be someone that goes and does anything for power. So it's really, really important to know that. And what's interesting too is that the Mars in Libra, right? So, okay, talking about love, Venus and Sag, they tend to date people from different cultures, not always. If it's not different cultures, it's someone who, they want to have they want to have a lot of freedom in their relationship. They want to have a large philosophical connection, right? Where the person can really, really add to their worldview, right? To expand their worldview. But like, it makes someone love traveling, love other cultures all the time. I've never seen one that doesn't. And a lot, yeah. So, in essence, in essence, in essence, in essence, in essence, when you have Juno in Aquarius, that doubles down the fourth house. Juno fourth house, that's a person who wants to find what I call metaphoric. They want their partner to represent a metaphoric home, if that makes sense. So they want to feel like their partner represents um home for them. Like home as a person, right? Like the concept of home metaphorically. And in Aquarius, it goes back to that same idea of freedom. Aquarius and Sag and love and love astrology are very much about an unconventional relationship, someone who gives tons of space, someone who isn't clingy, someone who has their own life going on, because as a first house sun and with such a karmic importance on finding the self and getting away from conditioning, well, guess what? Conditioning can also come from relationships. So, and with a North Node in the fifth, with the North Node in Ezra's back, interesting. So North Node in the fifth, that once again, that's really about authentic self-expression, trying different things, and just like in a partnership. Also, it's important to just be able to be goofy and be able to like do things that are just fun, and that looks differently for everyone, right? But like with someone who has like energy like Scorpio and all that, leaning into traveling and to the Sag stuff, traveling physically or traveling metaphorically is very, very important. Edmund's back. So, um, I think also like writing, any form of communication, Neptune in the third house gives someone this amazing ability to captivate people through their speech and through their communications. strong Mercury also, so that could, definitely, I think writing could be a very creative tool too to help one get in touch, even if it's not like for the job. It could be something that, really, really helps, like, journaling, stuff like that. Especially for a Virgo moon, there is a real need to get in contact with emotions. So yeah, overall, we see all this. And the sun is unaspected too, right? So that means that the sun in Scorpio, nothing's messing with it. It's got free reign. And people sometimes with that have to kind of watch out for, I guess, for the ego. They have to watch their ego. So the fact that it has Pluto there, it really does bring up that, I was saying earlier, that battle of ego versus soul. So it's like, ask yourself the question, like, what is the metaphysical value of what I'm doing? Am I worrying about the physical or the metaphysical value? That's the question, because in past lives there's been too much emphasis on the physical. Um, so, and it's not that you're not meant to be successful, you're not going to be successful. It's not that at all. It's that there should be there like there shouldn't be an over reliance on that. And when that happens, if that happens, but now what's yeah, there can be, well, I don't really see much in the sixth house, that Jupiter is in the sixth house, which is actually like one of the best things you can have for health in astrology. So, but sometimes, a lot of times when I see this in a chart, it's like there can be, because like one of the keys for Virgo moon is also to understand like this the somatic, kind of the connection between body and emotion. You know, psychos like anything like psychosomatic. It's very like there's a strong connection for the Virgo moon. Um, but yeah, it's just like it's yeah, it's really important to not go too hard, because um yeah. So I'll go, yeah, because like even like Mars in 12th house, that in Libra, like that can create someone who can be very indecisive. And in Mars in 12th house can be someone who self-sabotages. So um it's really, really important to kind of have a life where you're being a good person, obviously, but what like Pisces is also about service, right? So if you're being of service in some way, and you have Jupiter in the sixth house, which will expand your ability to be of service, which will expand your ability to, you'll be able to really be a very expansionary person in your day-to-day life, right? um that's really good, right? That's really, really good. So where do I want to go from here? I guess, like, with the Jupiter sixth house, it's like in Aries. That's like a big time leadership, right? And Scorpio can be very good at leading as well. So there is lots of leadership energy. It's just that um, like I've been saying, like Scorpio at its highest, is a sign that has like this amazing kind of like this amazing they use their amazing intuitions to benefit other people, right? At its lowest, so it really, really matters how a Scorpio sees themselves and sees their gifts, right? But gifts like this, you have to really go and find them. They're not just appearing, right? That's not how it works. um I mean, for some people, for some people it can work like that, but usually not, right? Usually you have to really go and kind of make the magic happen. Like, kind of, it's like muscles, right? These energies. So let's see. Hmm. So yeah, like I think that you definitely have like a real luck with your with the, with the health aspect of your birth chart, but overall, you have to make sure to open up that throat chakra, um, and to be able to speak truth. If that's not happening, then that's when some difficult things can some difficult some real difficulty can come. Like that's a big part of your chart. Um, Speaking truth and getting in touch with a creative aspect, or creative something, something creative, a creative outlet, not aspect. Um, so yeah, like I said, relationships need love, but also Virgo moon relationships needs reliability. So it's that mix between not needing freedom, needing being like, you're an independent person, so you need someone, like you can't have some, it's first house sun is meant, they're trying to discover themselves. They're trying to really figure out, who am I? How is conditioning like push me away? Who am I? What's the truth? What like it's really about developing your subjective truth. You see what I'm saying? Your worldview, truth, all that. Um, okay. So and then just making sure that you that the give to take ratio is good. Like that's very important to give as much as you take. Um, yeah. And yeah, with the Mars, like I was saying, like people with Mars in 12th house, sometimes they just do shit and they're just like, why the fuck did I do that? Um, but once they start to become spiritual, once they start to really turn inwards, and start to give back and start to do good things to the world, they notice that, wow, this energy that was just fucking me before is now fine. And it's on Spica, which is one of the greatest stars. But yeah, I'll go back to that in a little bit. But yeah, like because the Mars and you're born at night, so yeah. So yeah, 12th house Mars is in the night chart is it's quite difficult, So um definitely, there can be this tendency like lose oneself to kind of nothingness, like really lose oneself to different cycles of very unconscious behavior that can be very self-defeating. And the thing is though that like the Mars is in Libra, right? So it makes one very considerate. But also it can be very frustrating to have all that strong Scorpio energy, and then have the Mars in Libra, because it like making decisions can feel so like hell, because always kind of considering like, what is what is like, yeah, like trying to consider like every option and sometimes what happens when people like this, but my girlfriend she's a Scorpio like you, and she has a Libra Mars, like I have to tell her like make a decision, like because like she'll just like, you can always think of like how this is okay, but this way is okay too. What should I do? I'm just like make a decision. I've realized with Libra Mars people, it's like they have to really find that constitution of themselves, of their life, of their values, of their morals, and then learn to base all their decisions off of that. You know what I mean? But Mars in Libra also, it's very, very good to have that artistic outlet, right? It's a similar energy. Um, so when you have Mars conjunct one of the best stars, Spica, in all of astrology, um, it makes them very, very good with popularity and social success. And it's really, really good for judgment and quick decision making. Um, but it can also add some kind of like you know, I'm not gonna say it can make someone violent, but it is Mars, right? But it can make someone like, it's a very lucky star. So I think that that there's some real wisdom that can come from that. Some real wisdom. Mm. Sorry, I just like to sit, kind of allow things to come to me. Mm. All right. Well, let's see. Let's go down this list. So yeah, Moon trine. Ooh, Moon trine Neptune. That's like very, very like common for very strong intuition, psychic ability potential. Um, so like I said, it's just something that has to be worked on. It's a muscle. It's a muscle. Meditation, visualization, all that stuff, very important. Um, you definitely be someone who can do very, very well in any kind of job, any kind of daily routine is favored with a Jupiter in sixth house. Also, pets. You can really Jupiter in sixth house people tend to really, really do well with pets. Um, and Jupiter in Aries is really, really good at being a leader. They're really able to like, as long as they're not overly overpowering other people, they're able to really, really lead others. So um that's very nice stuff. And having Vesta up there too in Leo, it's like that's on the midheaven. That's someone who's probably better fit for like entrepreneurship, being left to their own devices and work, and who can definitely you know have like a very, very hard, very, very hard working in their career for sure. Very, very hard working in their career. And let's see. Yeah, like even Pluto first house makes one a very very like transformative leader. Someone who likes to really challenge themselves. And it gives a very powerful personality, just like Scorpio rising, right? So, um, and Mercury with Pluto, it's just like someone who wants to probe, like when they get like interested in something, they want to go deep, 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 like they can become obsessed with information, like and that's what I love, right? That they really can just go all out about something. And then Pallas and Sag conjunct Saturn is interesting too, because it it's very good for intelligence and for memory and for being able to like kind of have this like wide perspective around your mind and organizing like what's important to learn about and truth in general. Um, so yeah, Darius in Capricorn can give someone like make someone feel like yeah, I think third house series like they're very good at like giving out praise. Like they're very good with their words. Also networking, and they feel comfortable. So it does help out like kind of like this, like this real potential seriousness, which isn't bad, but like having this will make someone good at communicating. Um, and then Sirius and Capricorn, it's like it really makes someone feel very good when they achieve their ambitions and their goals and they feel like they're really, really giving back. Um, or that they're, like using self-discipline to achieve their goals. Um, so like Sirius is kind of like a second moon sign, like not as important. So it really it's like how you feel nurtured. So like Capricorn is about success. So it's definitely once again like there is that need to not overdo it with that, right? As we've talked about many times in this chart. So you know, success in entrepreneurship, like all those things can be very good. It's just that, there's that balance, right, between the real, the material world and the spirit world, right? And it's really important to not, to have a foot in both. And yeah, part of fortune in the third house also in Capricorn. So, you're really in your flow state when, when you're really building that firm kind of like inner worth, right? And it also makes it so like, it can be after the Saturn turn that real fulfillment comes, right? So, like the last few years of your life. But like a lot of times there's that need to like, get past the emotional insecurities first, right? Um, and third house pride fortune, like the more that you really, really master your ideas, right? The more that you really truly master your big picture ideas, the better. And the more because with not that much air, like you're just really trying to get good at being able to communicate different channels of communication. So I think I was looking at everything. Oh, okay, yeah. So wow, okay. So you have Urania and Psyche conjunct Mars. Really interesting with Spica. So you could literally be an astrologer. Urania is the asteroid of astrology, and I've had a lot of clients in a row who've had this. So if you're ever interested, I teach astrology 101. So probably the best deal in the world. Like that's something I really specialize in is teaching. It's my Sagement. Um, but yeah, you have that on your Mars, so there could be that for you. And Psyche is like it's Psyche psychology, right? So it's like astrology, psychology, like anything that really gets you deeper into understanding humans is amazing. Okay. All right. Well, that is all. No, 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 no. Did Nebula on your moon? I love that one. I love that one. So the nebula is a fixed star that is it's like about truth seeking, right? It's actually really another one linked with astrology, but not just astrology, just the occult and truth seeking in general. So that's pretty cool to have that there. That's pretty awesome. Um, so yeah, you'll be someone who wants to go really beneath the surface and really, really find the truth. Let me do one other thing. Check this out. Okay, that's it. So thank you so much. So I will be doing your guys' compatibility next. Well, not next, but soon. Um, when I'm in the mood to do a compatibility. No idea. I don't plan this stuff out. Like I literally could do it right now, but I probably won't. I'll probably wait a few days or who knows next time I do readings. But yeah, enjoy. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. It was really nice to be able to sit and just like zen out because I feel like a lot of stuff just comes to me. But I really felt like I pieced together your whole chart. The karmic stuff, you know, it's not so obvious. Like I'm able to do it in a way that like the way I do it, like I don't want to say I make it look easy because that sounds arrogant, but like I'm able like what I saw in your chart by working backwards from my method was a very obvious a very obvious reason for you to be having all this like kind of inward energy in this lifetime as a Scorpio, right? In the karmic path. So it all makes sense. Thank you so much. And yeah, you guys have all the follow-ups. We'll talk about that in the next reading. So all right. Peace out. Ciao.